How's it going, Diablo fans? Thank you so much for checking out my video, and today I bring you something that is very special to me, something that I've been working on for a very long time, ever since the Diablo 4 trailer came out, and we get to finally see how the story is going to continue from Diablo 3 into Diablo 4, especially with the return of the creator of Sanctuary herself and the mother of Nephilim, Lilith. I bring you a story that I wrote for how I personally think that Diablo 4 is going to go. Obviously, I have no association with Blizzard. I don't know anybody at Blizzard. I am not connected to the game other than just being a fan of the series, and I wanted to write what I felt would be a fun story of continuing the legacy that is Diablo itself. And with that, there's a couple of key points that I want to go over, because when it comes to the visuals and the audio for the video series that I'm going to start putting out, there's going to be a lot of people that will have mixed feelings. Some people will not know what is going on. They will see the visuals and they will think that it does not line up with the story, or they'll hear the audio and think, why is there only simply one voice doing all the characters? And I want to be able to just go over those questions and many other questions in this video, so that way if there is anything that needs explaining, hopefully this will do the majority of it, if not all of it, so you can just enjoy the story as I have wrote it and as I am depicting it in these videos. So the very first thing I want to do before I even really get into the points is I want to do a huge shout out to Game Lore Dash and his members of his Discord that were very inviting of me to be able to, at the very beginning of writing this, I was just flooding the Discord with what I thought would be a fun story, because so many people were trying to get an idea as to what to expect, looking at the Diablo wikis, going back into the games, going through all of the books that have come out, and just trying to get an idea as to who the summoner was, as to what Lilith is really going to do, who could possibly be the act bosses, if not the final boss of the game. Whatever it was that we were trying to talk about, these guys were very inviting of letting me just flood the Discord with the stories that I currently had wrote at the time, and they were very nice in giving me a lot of good feedback, especially because I had been out of the game for so long that they helped me catch up on a lot of different things and just gave me a lot of good constructive criticism. So huge shout out real quick to Game Lore Dash himself, to Fantix, who was also very insightful on a lot of things, and then especially I want to give a big shout out to Tales of the Blade, who is a Diablo lore junkie, and he really gave me a lot of good insights. So I just want to say, before even getting into it, thank you to you three for just being so inviting and just being a great community for Diablo, and just especially just talking lore. It's something I really enjoy. I love storytelling. I love being able to really invest in what I am either watching or reading, to be able to make it a lot more fun and to just have that much more of an imagination as to what to expect, and also what you've already currently gone through so far, to just build up the hype for what is to come. So now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the key points that I want to go over. So first point I want to go over is that I'm not associated with Blizzard in any way, shape, or form. I don't know anybody at Blizzard. I do not work at Blizzard, and this is all just written by me. I came up with all of the ideas for this when I was at work, either on my breaks or my lunches, just sitting down and trying to come up with different ideas and putting them finally onto a way that I can express them in my notes. And that is how the story was written. It was actually solely when I was at work. As far as the inspiration for the story, as I mentioned earlier, I tried to take into consideration all of the games, all of the books, Diablo Wiki, and just all of the things that make Diablo amazing that everyone still loves to this day. It is the franchise that got Blizzard off the ground, and it is something that so many people like myself are very passionate about. And I wanted to incorporate so much of that as possible. I tried to stay as canon to how the story could go, and to the different people that are in it, to the events that happened prior, and just trying my best to keep it as grounded as possible without things just kind of spiraling out of control and just going in every which way. I did my absolute best to stay towards a more canon style storyline, so that way when people listen to the audio or they watch the visuals, then they will be able to just enjoy it for everything that it is, because it would be hopefully close to the type of story that's already been told for the franchise. So the next point I want to talk about is I am not going to include Diablo Immortal in this. And the reason is not because it's a mobile game. I could care less if it was mobile or if it was on a computer. Awesome if it was on a computer, because then I'd be able to play it, but beside the point. I'm not including Diablo Immortal because I feel that the story is kind of backtracking in certain aspects. A good example is when it comes to Diablo 3, we do not know what the blood shards really are, whereas in Diablo Immortal, it is speculated, or if not told, that we are supposed to know what the blood shards are going to be, how they're going to affect the characters and the story itself. And I feel that being that Diablo Immortal goes between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, if they know what the blood shards are, and then the next game they have no idea what they are, I feel it's a little bit of a backtrack into the story, so I'm not going to include anything for Diablo Immortal except for some of the cinematic. When you see stuff on the screen, especially if you watch everything in its entirety, video back to back to back to back, you are going to see a lot of repeat clips. It is something that is very, very hard to balance in the story that I'm writing, because if you have played the games, the cinematics, as amazing as they are very limited. There's not a lot that I was able to work with, so I did my absolute best to be able to give you a sense of both exactly what I am speaking of or telling in the story on the screen, or just being able to give you at least a more accurate depiction as to what you could imagine is actually being talked about. So there are going to be a lot of repeat clips in the story, especially when it comes to one of the characters. Like, for example, the Priest of Rathma. There's no pictures I couldn't find on Diablo Wiki. I couldn't find on the Blizzard website. I couldn't find anywhere of just what a Priest of Rathma looks like. So I used the Necromancer from Diablo 3 as an example for it, and that is right there hopefully an indication as to what I mean by I will give as much of an accurate depiction as possible, because there's a lot of things that are missing that I could not get my hands on. But hopefully, just as you watch what the video is showing you and then you listen as well, it'll be able to hopefully make enough sense that you'll be able to still enjoy the video as a whole and the series as a whole. This is going to be one where I personally feel that as these will come out week by week, this will be more enjoyable watching it kind of not in back to back to back if the visuals become a little bit of a tiresome for you and seeing the same thing over and over at certain times. This will be, a lot of people will enjoy this as they come out individually, and then I can only imagine that people will also enjoy it as a whole once the entire story is out. And I will try my best to put a full video of just all the pieces together for you guys. So, but I just wanted to kind of hopefully explain how the visuals are going to go, because it is very difficult with so few cinematics to be able to work with, but I did my best in using those, fan art, actual official pictures from Blizzard themselves, just whatever I could get. I didn't try to find any outside sources from like Hollywood movies to give a good visual or anything like that. Just simply everything related to Diablo, even gameplay. That is going to be part of the story itself, and you will be able to see that on the screen while I'm telling the story as well. Next point is going to be, I did try to make this story have acts as much as possible, but because this game is going to be an MMO, and the way that I've played an MMO before, it's very difficult when you don't have something linear. Like, for example, in Diablo 2, which I play a lot, you have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, and then Act 5 with the expansion, but there are going to be certain ways that you have to be able to play it. Like, for example, you have multiple quests per act, and there are going to be some quests that you do not have to complete right then and there, but there are ones that you have to be able to complete within a linear perspective to be able to not only complete that act, but to be able to continue on towards the end of the game. So, for example, when it comes to getting Khalim's will, you have to collect his body parts and you have to collect his flail. You do not have to collect in the order of which the game is depicting, but you do need to be able to collect all those pieces to be able to destroy the compelling orb to be able to go fight Mephisto. So I tried my best to be able to keep it as much of an act by act as possible, but because the game is an MMO and you do not have a specific order that you have to do things in, that's kind of how the story started to end up going. And it's kind of a slow burn of a story, but once it gets going, it really gets going. And that's one thing I'm really excited for. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be repeated for actual Diablo fans that they're not going to learn anything new, but hopefully for those that are new to Diablo and that are excited for the game, they will be able to learn quite a bit. And also, when it comes to the main character for the story, I hope everyone understands that this character does not know much about what has happened prior, because again, you have to think of the timeline for which Diablo 4 has taken place for something like Diablo 3 or even just Diablo 2, which I took a lot of inspiration from. But the character that we have knows a lot about the past. There's a lot of information that is being gapped in between what they know to what they think, and they will learn it along the way. And that's where a lot of people are going to hear a lot of the same things they've heard before, but hopefully there's going to be more of an inclusion of other information to be able to hopefully make more sense and to just make the continuation of the story that much more exciting, because the things we already know, there's a lot more to build upon that. That's the thing. I wanted to have a good foundation and then just build up from there. So the next point is going to be about the continuation of the story. So I already have several videos already edited, thumbnails made. They're scheduled to come out. However, I have some other videos that I'm going to be continuing to make for the story, and there's already plot lines that I've already wrote, and they're not in sentence or kind of narration format for me to be able to voice over and create yet, but the actual points, the whole story is already complete. Now I just need to take those bullet points and put them into a narrative format for me to be able to start actually putting them into a video. And there's also going to be a lot of editing for the visuals that's going to take place. So at a certain point, I might have to take a little bit of a break when it comes to putting out the videos, but I will be back as quickly as possible to continue the story, because it is done at this point. It's just making it go from, again, bullet points to where I can actually speak upon it. I can give the characters personality and to be able to show that with the visuals, and also just have you be able to hear it through the audio. So there's a lot of the story that's already completed, and then the remainder of it I am currently, as you are listening to this right now, trying to write, edit, and to be able to put out videos, so that way it hopefully doesn't have any gaps from when the last video I've already edited is published to the next series, to be able to continue the video. So there's hopefully going to be close to over 24 videos for the entire series. I'm not sure yet. I know for certain there's at least going to be 20, if not possibly more. It just depends on how much I can fit into certain aspects, because again, I'm trying to go act by act, but at this point it might just be better to put it into little pieces, and then you can decide as the viewer what acts are going to be for 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. With that said, because I've already wrote the story and it's already completed, with this being recorded on January 3rd, I know that BlizzCon is coming up in the next month, and I know that they're going to be releasing a new class. They're going to be releasing a lot more information for the classes we already have. They're going to hopefully be giving us more in-depth ideas as far as the story and how it's going to go. Hopefully kind of go over if Diablo is going to return, or what the main idea for the story is. So with that said, again, as I stated in the last point, I already have my end of the story wrote. It's not in actual, again, narrative format, but I am not going to change anything about my story. Even if Blizzard comes out with a brand new character that I am not telling in my story, I'm just keeping it exactly as I see it to be completed, because I feel that, again, this being a fan story, I want it to just stay as true to what I felt would be really fun and really cool for a story. And again, it's not canon. I tried to keep it as much of a feel to canon as possible, but obviously I'm not a part of Blizzard. I don't know what's going on. You and I know the exact same thing at this point, but I just wanted to give my perspective on what I feel would be a really fun story. So I will not change any of the details that I've already previously wrote, and just keep it exactly as it is, because we have a long time coming for when the game is going to come out. As the devs have even stated, it's not going to come out soon, not even Blizzard soon. So this is simply just to hopefully tide anybody over that wants to have a fun, enjoyable story to be able to watch and listen to while we anticipate the game coming out. Another thing when it comes to talking visuals versus audio, I wrote the story well before I ever considered how the visuals were going to look. So that's why it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to make what I'm saying be able to be depicted on the screen. And that's where you're just going to have to hopefully work with me on that and just use your imagination. Again, I'm trying to accurately depict what I can on the screen for you, but again, diehard Diablo fans, hopefully you'll be able to catch on to that and to be able to understand what it is that I am showing. Because, for example, there's a picture where we see, I believe it's supposed to be a paladin looking at the River of Flame, and right now we don't have a paladin character that's created for Diablo or like a holy character or whatever, but I use that picture over 3 or 4 times to be able to show our main character going into the River of Flame, and with Lilith traveling into hell to be able to find Inarius. I use that picture in multiple different instances for multiple different things because there's not a lot that I otherwise would be able to work with. So again, hopefully just wanted to clarify that when it comes to how the visuals and the audios may conflict, because I did not have any of the visuals in mind when I was writing this. It was simply just the audio. And speaking of audio, I'm the only voice when it comes to the story because I did not have anybody that was able to help me as far as maybe be a voice for Lilith, be a voice for the summoner, be a voice for some of the greater evils and some of the characters that we're going to end up fighting and killing. I did it all by myself. So there's going to be some people that when Lilith is speaking, you will hear my voice. I did not try to make my voice sound as female as possible. I just kind of changed it very slightly. But hopefully that again clarifies why there's simply just one voice. It's all just me. This is again just a passion project of mine. I thought it was a lot of fun to make, and so that's why you will see the visuals as they are, but also hear the audio as simply just me. I don't really include any side quest content when it comes to the story because I felt that it was a little bit long already as it is. When it comes to how I depicted Act 1, it went a lot longer than I expected, so I am not including any kind of side quest content that you would otherwise get from the games. Like, for example, with Diablo 2, you have Killing of Radamit is a side quest, well, at least I consider, because it's not part of the main story. You do not have to kill him to complete the game. It's good to be able to do all the quests that you can, but you do not have to. Also, like the Jade figurine, the Golden Bird, that's another side quest that is in Diablo 2 because it's not necessary to continue the game. And that's why some people are going to be outraged that I called it a side quest. But for me, it's one of those, it's fun to do, but it's not necessary for the completion of the game, especially when it comes to speedrunners. Like, pretty much think of a speedrunner. I am trying to, with the story I've already wrote, speed run through a lot of the details that I would otherwise have limitless possibility, and that would make the story go for so much longer than it already is. So I'm not including anything that I would consider, or maybe you would consider if you're a D3 player, any side quest content or any quests that would not be necessary to complete and finish the storyline for Diablo 4. The last thing I'm going to go over is the dialogue. I wanted to keep it similar to how Diablo 3 does it, especially when it comes to some of the main characters interacting between one another, and when it comes to our character interacting between what would be considered an act boss or just any boss in general. I wanted to keep this more on how the old school movies and games were when you would go against a main character or a main antagonist. There would be a little bit of dialogue going back and forth, because in Diablo 2, especially when it comes to the act bosses, you simply see them, they have maybe 1 or 2 lines, and then that's it. And then through the fight, they can start repeating some of the lines, but I wanted to actually stick it to more of an old schoolish tradition, kind of like how Diablo 3 is, where when you're fighting a boss, there is some dialogue going back and forth before you actually engage in combat with them. So that's why for the story, there's going to be quite a bit of talking, and there's going to be a lot of dialogue passed between characters before any of the action starts. But I hope that you guys will still be able to enjoy it nonetheless. With that being said, that's going to be all the points I'm going to go over for now. If there's anything else that needs to be explained, please leave it down in the comment section so that way I can explain it in the best of my ability. And again, I hope that with everything I said, it explains enough for you to be able to enjoy the series that's coming out. And if there's anything that I have left out, please leave it down below, because again, this is as canon as I can make it to make it feel like it's actually part of Diablo 4. But if there's something that you feel that I could have included, should have included, please let me know. I am always curious to see how everybody else's ideas for how the game and how the story can go. And I think it'd just be a lot of fun to be able to have a good discussion in the comment section. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you are going to enjoy the series. It will start rolling out week by week, so that way it is not just going to be flooding everybody's notifications. But speaking of, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, be notified whenever a new video comes out, because again, it will be once a week. I believe it's going to be on Sundays, but that might change depending on the schedule that I have for other videos. But if you like this video, please give it a like and share it, because I'm, again, really excited to be able to bring this to you guys. It was a lot of fun to make, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed being able to make it. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.